This video. All right, so Khalid, we are live at the same time. If you want to just shout out everyone really quick.
Hello guys.
Just to show you guys what we got over here, I've got my Panda Dial Daytona. We've got a very interesting 6263 as well. This belongs to Khalid. And we've got the original 321 Omega. So just to kind of give you a bird's eye view of what this looks like. And I've got my camera setups here. So this is basically the next video that is coming out live. And shoot up your questions if you have any questions.
Okay.
I cannot believe what's in front of my eyes right now. Like honestly, how did this happen, Khalid?
You probably want to listen to this
Yeah.
now. So that's
It. Yeah.
how it sounds.
Yeah. That should have been on the first video, Khalid. This is my first time to actually see one in person, 6263. And right next to it, we've got the original
145
Wow.
12, which is from 1967, the caliber 321.
The original.
Lemania-based original movement of the Speedmaster.
So in part one, as you guys remember, we've done the battle of the chronographs. I don't know how those two were excluded. So there is one thing that addressed basically what came out first, Daytona, Rolex. We might have upset some viewers, basically not giving enough justice to the Omega Speedmaster.
We only spoke about the Speedmaster very briefly in that
Right.
Video, and the reason being is that because of the history of the Speedmaster, you and I decided not to speak about that watch in a video where we're going to be speaking about other watches, unless it's a comparison between Omega Speedmaster and the Daytona. That's the reason why we have done this today.
.37 something.
It is 37, but you know when you wear it,
Yeah.
it wears a little bit bigger than that.
Right.
And you really won't be able to tell the difference.
Right.
If you put that 40 mm Daytona that you have there,
Yeah.
and you put this on, you won't be able to tell a very big difference between the two.
So Khalid, why don't you tell us about this 6263?
It's a watch that you either get one of the best in its condition, or you don't go for the ones that are not that great.
Right.
And the
And when you say one of the best, you're talking about everything being in its original condition as
Correct.
well. So we're not just talking about polished pieces. But maybe before we start talking about that, let me understand first, what does this watch mean to you? So you went out basically looking specifically for a Sigmadial 6263, and what's the rationale behind that?
Well, the 6263 is one of the most iconic models from the Daytona
Right.
vintage era, if you like. This is one of the most well-known Daytonas that people see, especially now with the introduction of the ceramic. People
Right.
go back and see what Rolex have done in the past.
Right.
And if you see, this is what they did.
Yeah.
But I'd like to tell you that this was done before.
Right.
And it was done before Rolex does it.
1950 issue, obviously.
1950, 1960s.
Okay.
So you had Omega do that before Rolex.
Sure.
And we're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
To that conversation.
Yeah.
But out of the variations, the 6241, the 6239, the 6262, 6263, the 6264, the 6265. I like the 6263. As I told you, exotic dial is my favorite.
Right.
But you cannot, you sometimes cannot fetch those type of pieces at a price point which is
Sure.
acceptable. It costs lower than most of the others.
Okay.
But the Sigma dial in itself is very rare.
Sure.
You don't find these type of watches with its original condition, with a Sigma dial which is all accurate by year. This is a 1974 piece, and it is very, very, very extremely difficult to find everything accurate to the year of the making of the watch.
Sure.
So you've got
This is actually, sorry to interrupt you, but this is actually much more difficult and rarer than the Big Red. A lot of people have the misconception that the Big Red is rarer than this, but it's not, because this one came first. This is actually much more difficult to source in its original condition.
And to add on to that point, if you would focus on this. There is no Daytona written. This is pre-Daytona.
Look at that. Look at that. You are just, I mean, you keep just dropping the bombs like one by one. Look at that. This is wow.
So this is during the...
I don't know if the camera can catch it here, but you don't see Daytona written on this dial. The camera didn't focus, but I'll take it back again. So there is no Daytona written on this.
So it was during the time that a very relevant time that we were going to be talking about, where Rolex was a little bit confused about what they need to do after not being.
Are we pro-choice putting the Daytona on? Are we anti-consequences? How does it go?
No, well, so that's before they settled upon the Daytona dial or the Daytona name.
Right.
They had marketing materials on Le Mans, which is basically a 24-hour race in France. And by the way, the winner of that race wins Daytona. They give a Daytona as a prize.
Specific reference?
Specific. It could be 6263.
Yeah.
That's back in the days. But today also, as of today, as we speak, just 2 days ago, there was a Le Mans event, and the winner actually won the new Daytona.
One of these guys.
Of these guys. The 116500 LN was given as a gift, and actually it's been engraved in the back, which says basically Le Mans. You did mention one thing interesting, that this is people have a misconception that the Big Red is more rarer than this. It's actually not. The normal Big Red, which comes down with a dial T Swiss T, that's not more rare than this watch.
Of course.
But there is a variation of the Big Red which is rarer than this watch, which is the Daytona Sigma dial T Swiss T Big Red.
So that specific variation is the rarest one, obviously, with the T Swiss Sigma dial. Okay. I want to take in some questions as well. So we are here recording the video, but in the same time we are live.
Okay, so why is this one important? Well, the 6263 is important because a lot of people know how the ceramic look looks now on the newer one, but they didn't know that it came from this particular watch, which Rolex have now reintroduced. So the new ceramic 116500 LN was actually in fact taken from this particular 6263, which was the first watch to come alongside the bezel, which you see here on the tachymeter outside. Obviously, you had 6239 and the 6238, where the tachymeter was removed, brought out, and the other one had it in. The 6241 also is a great reference. The 6262 is also a great reference. Anything 4-digit Daytona are very, very important for the history of Daytona. They talk about where this watch came from and where it's reached today. This one in particular is what we call the ROC dial. It does not have a Daytona written in it, and it has a Sigma dial. Also, both of these features on this dial together makes it extremely rare to find, and in a condition where obviously everything is kept intact and nothing has been changed during service. That makes some of these pieces grails today.
So someone is asking what's on my wrist. I actually came in today
with two watches.
With two watches. So I came in with this $20 Casio. I love this watch, but I was wearing my 116500 LN Panda Dial Daytona.
And that's what we also touched upon in some of our previous videos.
Right.
Rarity is based on how scarce or how difficult is it to find a certain piece in a certain condition.
Right.
With how much were actually made of these pieces.
Right.
Today we see these modern pieces, and I told you I'm a vintage guy.
Sure.
You see these modern watches. They're being made in thousands and thousands of novelties that are being made today.
Sure.
How can you call those watches rare? I see some platforms putting up the hottest watches in the market today and saying that it's rare. Come on, guys.
It's not.
You know, let's not kid ourselves.
I know.
Those are not rare watches.
How much does these cost? Well, obviously, so maybe Khalid, you want to take that question? Obviously, this is modern, so you can easily find the price.
We've answered that question earlier. It depends on the condition. It depends on which year it is. It depends on the rarity of the dial. It depends on the provenance of the watch itself.
Right.
The pricing on this will vary. It really depends who we take it from.
Right.
And in my situation, the person that wanted to let go of this didn't like the watch.
Really?
Yeah, and
what's not to like about it?
No, he didn't like the manual winding of the watch.
He was the first owner.
Yeah, he was the first owner. He said,
Solid.
Look, this doesn't do for me. And I was actually fortunate enough, thank God, that he just wanted his money back. He did not want to sell it for premium.
Okay.
So what happened was I got it of the person, and we, by virtue of me knowing these people, I was able to get it for the price that he bought it for.
Right.
And to be honest, you'd be very surprised in terms of how much I got this watch for. It didn't cost me much.
But before you tell us how much you paid for it, let me just go back to the fact that... I
won't tell you how much I paid for it.
That's fine, okay. But what is the estimated price that someone would actually pay to get something like that if you can find it?
You'd be very surprised how much I paid.
But you can put us in a range of what to anticipate in terms of the more or less the relative cost to it. But before that, Khalid, sorry, I just wanted to jump into something you said about the manual winding. That could be annoying to some specific watch, some specific brands. Of course, there is the emotional connection that when you sit down and you wind it and you listen to it, that's a lot of fun. But just imagine doing that on a modern day watch. Every time you take the watch off and put it, basically you have to pick it back again and wind it. It gets annoying. But for this specific reference, for this Daytona, I actually wouldn't mind it. The gravity of what this watch is, what the dial is, the era it came from, the combination of how it looks. For me, you'd make an exception to that. So this guy sold it because he didn't like the manual winding?
It just didn't work. So he took the watch, he kept it with him for a while. He is a collector. He didn't wear it for a very long time, it seems. And again, I told you, it depends on when the person bought the watch. He bought it way back.
70s.
So basically, not 70s, he didn't buy it in the 70s, but he bought it at a later stage where all this numbers were not there. So when he wanted to
do you remember the
sell
retail price of it, approximately?
I mean, I know people that have bought this watch in the 70s for less than $1,000.
And today, more or less, it's worth what?
Around $2,000, $3,000. Today, really, it's difficult to tell how much it's going to be worth. It really needs to be assessed. This one, again, I come back to you and I say that the person that I took from already assessed the watch fully, and even the screws are not service.
Interesting.
There is nothing changed
Comes with box, paper, certificates, everything. That's very rare, actually.
Nothing has been changed in this watch.
Yeah.
It is as is. It's kept with him.
Yeah.
He didn't wear it. He once after years or whenever it was, he wore the watch and he timed it, and the watch stopped working. And he called up my friend and said, "You know what? The watch doesn't work." And the person said, "Okay, have you tried winding it?" He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, well,
okay, I see.
Wind the watch.
Someone like that is excused.
Give us some power, and then let's see if it works or not." So it worked.
My Daytona's not working, but I forgot to wind it.
But it worked. But after some time, he said, "I don't want the watch. It's not for me." And fair enough.
Okay.
Some people don't want to wind the watch.
But Khalid, let's just go back to
Some people don't even want to time the watch.
They don't want to time the watch. Okay, I got you. But so you said more or less the retail at that point in time was under $1,000. What is someone expected? What do you anticipate for a number to get something in a similar condition where it's not polished, etc., box paper, clean one? What would you look at? Is it
Sigmadial?
Sigmadial, correct. The same exact dial.
Full set.
Full set.
Certificate number to put on that.
Yeah? Over $100,000?
Yeah.
Over 150 maybe, yeah?
So one thing very important about the Lemani movement is obviously that it's It was produced between 1957 to 1969. Of course, the 5 references that were there during this period of time, had the 3-2-1 movement, which obviously went on these space missions.